Hey, what's up, guys? It's Adrian from Pink Pirates TCG here, and we're back with another gameplay video for you guys. This time, it's going to be me on the left playing Kid versus Darian on the right playing Oden. And of course, this is the green deck list that I made about like a week or two ago, a video on. So I just kind of wanted to show you guys like the way it works and my thought processes with my choices for green. Just because green has so much variance in it, there's a lot of different things that you could run because the deck is so flexible. It just really depends on what you value, and this is a more mid-range list. This is kind of a shaky cam video again, sorry about that. A lot of our other gameplay videos are going to be a lot better. And we're just playing rock, paper, scissors, see who goes first. But yeah, so Kid, I mean, like, great leader skill. You rest 3 Dawn, discard a card, you get to restand your leader. Attack twice. Oden has such an interesting and aggressive playstyle because, you could discard a Wano type card and then set 2 of your rested Dawn as active. So the deck lists, they're very similar in the list that they run, but because of the way that the leader skill works, you kind of play very differently, especially since Oden has access to cards like Kinemon, which get you so much value, by playing a 3-drop on top of your 6-drop, restanding your Wano type characters. So the kind of name of the game isn't as simple as just getting 8-drop Kid down, right? Because with Kinemon, like, they are going to have just very aggressive boards. And we see that turn 1, Darian is just going to play the Jewelry Bonnie. This is like just a strong start for any green player, right? You have the option to just search for whatever supernovas in the top 5 cards of your deck. Turn's going to swing back to me. I'm on 2 Dawn. And I have a lot of options in hand. Like, I could play Killer, but, it doesn't look like I drew into, like, any search cards, which kind of hurts me a little bit. So I just pass it back to him. Even if I had a search card there, it could be potentially dangerous to play, right? Because if he has like Nekomamushi in hand, he could just play it, swing into my search, and then I just wasted a turn pretty much, right? But I don't have any play to do, so I just pass it. And then he's going to spend rest 3 Dawn, play his Okiku. This is such a strong start for him in the mirror. And then he's going to swing for 5k. I'm kind of thinking about whether I should block this. I have the Nekomamushi in hand, but I want to save it to deal with his board, so I'm just going to take. But yeah, as I was saying, like, the Okiku is such a strong card to play first into the green mirror, because now, like, anything I play, right, is kind of going to get met with an Okiku, or it has a risk of getting rested with Okiku and swung into. So I'm going to answer this by resting his Okiku with Nekomamushi, and then I'm just wondering now, like, how much should I swing with it? And I'm going to decide to go 7k at it, so he has to drop 2 cards to deal with it, which he does. So that's a Poo and Killer. I don't know if I necessarily agree with this play, just because he has the Searcher opposed to me. Like, card advantage is kind of everything in this matchup. You want to have more resources and more board than your opponent. But it's kind of a debatable play, right? So he's going to rest 1 to get the Jewelry Bonnie search. I mean, like, maybe it's not so bad because he kind of doesn't lose out on any card advantage here. He's just going to pick up the 5-cost Law. Because he drew for turn, because he's getting an extra search off this Bonnie, maybe he doesn't super mind getting rid of 2 cards out of his hand, because he does have a lot more board presence right now. But, like, it's kind of always tough to deal with. So he's going to attach 1 to the Okiku, get that ability going. When she has a Dawn under her, she gets to rest a 5-cost or less when attacking. So she's going to attack into my face, swing into my leader, rest the Nekomamushi. I'm going to counter for 2k. And then he's going to swing his leader into my Neko and play the Killer. So Killer Blocker is really good. This is such a strong board at this point because, there's 2 targets that I want to kind of hit, and that's Jewelry Bonnie and Okiku, but I can't really swing with that, right, with my leader because he has the killer to protect them. Luckily, I do have a great play here. So I'm just going to rest 2, rest 3. So I'm going to rest 5 Dawn to play X-Drake and to pop his Okiku. So this is going to do 2 things. X-Drake on play just KOs a rested character that costs 4 or less, and that did 2 things, right? I've gotten rid of his Okiku, so now his killer can no longer draw him a card. You know, on block, if killer has a Dawn under him, you draw a card if you have 3 or more characters on the board. Now he has 2, so that effect is no longer relevant. So I get to swing into this Jewelry Bonnie for 5k, and then he doesn't get a block off this draw, right? So he's kind of like just thinking about, you know, should I block here? Should I not? He's going to opt to block even though he doesn't get the draw. I think this is the correct play because, you know, Jewelry Bonnie is kind of better than drawing 1 random card because you get to draw like something that you need, right? So now the board has kind of swung completely in my favor. He had a really strong board with like the Okiku, the blocker, but X-Drake just allowed me to kind of overtake the board completely. And that's why I think that X-Drake is just such a great card to run, as opposed... I mean, I do run 2 killer in this, but I think, you know, you should be focusing on an X-Drake ratio just because, you know, he not only KOs something on board, he gives you a ton of board presence by being a 6k body, so you just get so much value from him. And he's actually going to take a second 5-cost Law here from his Bonnie. I'm like, wow, almost exact same. So... and he has like a lot of Dawn to work with, right? Because Oden, you know, you can always just discard a Wano type character, get 2 more Dawn to play with in your turn. He ends up being like such a kind of aggressive and defensive deck with that because of the event cards that you can run. Because you could just curve out and then, you know, unrest your Dawn for an event. So it looks like he's resting 5. He's gonna use his Law, pick up the Bonnie, protect it since it's rested, play the Nekomamushi, and he's going to punish me for playing this Momonosuke dry. And he's just going to swing into it, so that's kind of sucks for me. Oh yeah, he said he's going to attack the Momonosuke. That's kind of rough for me because then I'm having a little bit of trouble gaining card advantage while Darien is kind of every turn searching with Bonnie, which is, you know, it's going to let him kind of if I let that go through too many times, he's going to just run away with the game because of how much advantage he has. But of course the board is still like relatively in my favor, I would say, especially, you know, since that he's gonna want to use Law as a blocker more than an attacker. So if you think about it, like I really have the better board here, and I'm just gonna swing 6k into his leader. I want a 2k counter, but you know, he's just gonna take, and then I'm gonna swing 5k into his leader. I don't really I mean, like, I don't really attach because, you know, 6k already is enough to beat the Law, so he would have to like drop a 1k counter to kind of protect it, but he's just gonna take even the 5k. Like, this is pretty much just because he doesn't want to I think he doesn't want to put the Law in any danger. Because, of course, like, you know, even though I'm only swinging the 5k, if he ends up resting his Law, I could always restand my my leader and then swing into it anyway. He might lose his blocker. But I'm just going to opt for playing the 7-drop Kid because, you know, I'm in a relatively safe position here. I have 4 life. I don't mind spending an entire turn on Kid because he's going to get me so much value throughout the game. He's so good against green, so good against purple. It's just a really all-around great card to have. And I even have like 1 Dawn open for the Paradise Waterfall combo where like I can, you know, block with Kid, restand him with Paradise Waterfall. He's 9k, he's blocking 9k. It's an awesome combo to have, right? So, you know, Darien, he's gonna rest 1, use the Momonosuke, grab an Okiku, and his job right now is to kind of mitigate my board. And that's gonna be incredibly difficult for him to do because of the 7-drop Kid play, right? And the Paradise Waterfall. Because, you know, if he's not swinging for enough numbers, like, I could just potentially get 2 blocks out of the Kid. I already have the X-Drake on board as well for 6k, but he's going to opt to just kind of turtle up, play Rest 5 Dawn to pick up the Momonosuke, play it back down. I think he's going to use Momonosuke again. What he's doing here, I think, is fishing for Kinemon because he has to match my board presence, right? And he isn't going to be able to do that without something like Kinemon. So he's going to grab the Okiku. I think this is a good play because, you know, she's just going to activate so many plays in the future. You know, if I have any blockers like Killer or Beige. But ultimately, it's kind of tough because Okiku kind of loses value in the mirror in the late game. Because I say mirror, I'm sorry. I mean like a green mirror, not like kid versus kid, right? But in the green matchup, it's difficult to gain value off of Okiku because you're gonna wanna attack most of the time with your 5 costs, especially with my deck where I'm running like less law. So he's gonna swing 5k into my leader. Of course, I'm just gonna block with 7k. He played the Beige. He is also he's also telegraphing Paradise Waterfall to me, so his is going to be less effective just because, you know, Law is only at 6k while 7-drop Kid is at 7. But it's still going to be an effective combo to potentially get like 2 more blocks out of the turn. So I'm just kind of deciding what to do here. I have a lot of plays. I drew into the structure deck Law, which is super important. For those of you who don't know, Structure Deck Law is a 5-cost 6k that restands any Supernova that costs 5 or less, or Heart Pirate that costs 5 or less on your board. So he's going to let me get 2 attacks off X-Drake, and you could see I'm dividing up my Dawn, kind of thinking about this play. I want to make this Law play. So I'm going to swing into, I think, Life here with Kid. Oh, also, something I noticed in this game, please do not, I actually misplay by putting 2 Dawn under X-Drake before attacking. Do not do this because, you know, on the off chance he let this through, like, he could have triggered something like Punk Gibson, which is triggers like rest one of your opponent's character cards, and he could have just rested my X-Drake while it had Dawn under him. So make sure you guys, like, when you're swinging, do not attach Dawn until you're actually swinging with the character because of things like that. So I'm going to swing 6k into Momonosuke. I go up to 6k even though his Momo's at 0 because I want cards out of his hand, right? He has 2 blockers that are 6k, so I want him to lose either a Law or grab a card out of his hand. Obviously, he's going to block it with the Law and just go up to 8k, restand it with a Paradise Waterfall like what we said. So now we're kind of in the same exact board position. It's just that he has 1 less card in hand, so that's pretty much exactly what I wanted. I'm going to swing 8k here into Life, it looks like, and he's just going to block with his Law. He's not going to spend 2 cards to save it. And then this is the big play, the big swing turn. I'm going to rest 5 to restand the X-Drake and get another 8k swing. And this is why I think Law is so good in this meta, or for like more mid-range green decks, if that's your playstyle, because he's basically like, I have basically played a 5-cost 8k rush, right? Because he hits the board, he restands my X-Drake, I get another card, and I'm gonna swing into his Momonosuke. He blocks it with Trafalgar Law, and then he gets rid of 2 counters to keep that Law in place. So that's given me so much tempo. This Law has given me like so much card advantage, you know, just by playing it. And then you get the 6k body afterwards. So like my board is so threatening right now because of this Structure Deck Law, and it's honestly an insane card that I think more people should run. I run it at 2 in this deck, and he's gonna fish for with Momonosuke again. He has a lot of options, but I think he's just gonna go for the Kinemon. He's gonna bottom deck the rest of his Kinemon actually, which feels really bad, but I mean, what are you gonna do? It's part of the game. And right here, like, I think the play is to just, you know, try to establish your own board as the Oden player, you know, drop that Kinemon down, drop an Okiku or something like that, and try to retake this game with the restands you get from Kinemon. So he's just gonna kind of map out what he wants to do. He has 9 more Dawn to work with, I'm pretty sure. Is it? Yeah, so because we're both at like 10 Dawn at this point, so it's gonna be a tough play. Because, you know, you have to address my board as well, but I'm telegraphing Waterfall combo again with the kid, so it's gonna be really difficult to do that. But it looks like he's deciding whether to swing with his leader or not, and kind of like how much to swing. Maybe he wants to go for my life or X Drake. But it's going to be difficult to kind of do a meaningful swing because, again, the 7-drop kid, the restand. So it might just be better to save the things you want to swing with. So he's just going to do 5k onto my life. I'm, of course, just going to block this with 7-drop kid. And I'm not afraid to do this because, you know, he doesn't have a lot of threats on board, and even if he attacks with the Trafalgar Law, I still have like 2k counters in hand, because I know he wants to play the Kinemon, so he's not going to be able to allocate a lot of Dawn onto the Law. And then he's going to swing 8k into X-Drake, which I think is a great play, just trying to get rid of something on my board, but I'm going to have the counters available to me, so I'm going to Paradise Waterfall, go up to 8k, and then I'm going to counter out with a Apu. So it does feel kind of bad that I'm over countering there, but I think in general, because he's committing his blocker to the attack, like I'm more willing to protect it, because that's a lot of value that he's lost there, to try to get rid of my board, because he's going to have a huge swing turn here with the Kinemon. So he's going to swing, he's going to rest 6, play the Kinemon, and now he's thinking about whether to drop down the Raizo or the Okiku. And there are benefits for both. Obviously, Okiku has higher attack, so she's easier to kind of stack up and swing with. But also, yeah, he's going to go for the Okiku. But also, Raizo would get you like a lot of card advantage. And I personally think for this matchup, he should have went with the Raizo, just because you aren't going to get as much value with Okiku's when attacking ability, because I'm going to be swinging with all of my 5Ks. And the only blocker that I have right now on board is the 7-drop kid, which you can't rest with Okiku. So it might have been better to play Raizo there, get more card advantage, as well as like establishing a board and swinging. So, and you don't even have to swing with Raizo again, right? Like you could just restand him, protect him for next turn, because green doesn't have a lot of like on-spot removal that, you know, like red, purple, and even blue like has bounces that can kind of deal with a Raizo that's not rested. But green has to usually swing into things, aside from, you know, he has to swing into things to get rid of them. And if they're not rested, then it could be very difficult for green to deal with something, a character that's unrested, like a Raizo. So again, like you don't even have to attack again with him, right? You could just keep him stood up, and then you could potentially draw more cards throughout the game. So right here, I want to, like, since he has the Kinemon out, he's going to get a lot of, that produces a lot of pressure, so I really want to deal with his board in any way I can. So I attach one to the 7-drop kid. This is because I'm always going to want to at least have one Dawn on him, so he gets the restand to be a blocker on his turn. And it looks like I'm just going to swing into the Law here to get rid of it. It's probably one of the only chances I'm going to get that's like kind of controlled, where, you know, I swing 8k so that even if he restands it with Paradise Waterfall, he still has to ditch another card for it, and then he ends up having 0 cards in hand. But of course, he lets it go through, and then I'm just going to rest 3 Dawn after that swing to play the Okiku. This is in the wrong order because, you know, if I want to end up swinging at life, it might be detrimental to me that I summoned it because of the Gibson. You always want to swing with the characters first before you play any new ones. This is just for me personally to kind of visualize where I should put my Dawn and everything like that. So I'm going to attach one each to X-Drake and Law. This is because I want them to be at 7k to attack at his life. so that he has to get rid of those 2 cards in his hand to block it. But first, I'm going to, of course, swing at the Momonosuke before anything, get rid of that so he doesn't gain any more card advantage in the next coming turns. And then I'm going to swing at him with 7k here. He's going to take. And then I'm going to swing 7k at him again. And of course, he's going to take. He doesn't have a lot of cards in hand. And this is where I think a little bit early game, it might have been, you know, when you're playing these green matchups, it's really easy to kind of get rid of like a ton of cards because the name of the game is board control. But sometimes you just have to let some cards die just to keep a good hand advantage, because right there he eats 2 life like it's nothing. And then I'm just going to discard 1, rest 3 to swing at his life again. I want another card out of his hand. I get the Raizo. So this is me like controlling his hand kind of, and while having this insane board. So it's going to swing back over to him. Of course, I get the 7-drop restand. I have 1 for Paradise Waterfall. But yeah, like in these green mirrors, you want to really balance, you know, if a card is being swung into, you don't want to over counter and get rid of like a ton of cards in your hand to kind of respond to it, if that's going to mean you'll have no hand by the end of the game. Because that's really what lets me kind of overtake and get a bunch of value in these turns. So he's just going to swing, I think with 9k here into, it looks like 5-drop Law, and then he's just going to rest my Okiku. This is, see, like right here, like I'm not gonna, I mean, that's just gonna go through, right? Because I'm not gonna spend any cards in my hand to preserve that Okiku, or sorry, that 5-cost Law. So I'm gonna kind of let him take my board because I want the cards in my hand. So he's gonna rest Bonnie, spend the 1 Dawn to search with that. And then he's going to attach 1 to Kinemon. He actually doesn't rest the Bonnie like he should here. I think he might correct it later, but yeah, that Bonnie should definitely be rested right now. Just thinking about whether he should swing with Leader. He's just going to swing 5k into what looks like life. I'm going to block 7k, it looks like. I think this is because, you know, I could always get a restand with Paradise Waterfall, especially if he's not going to attach more to this Kinemon. But it looks like he's thinking about it, so. Yeah, so he's going to attach 2 more to this Kinemon so that I have to get an extra card out of my hand to protect this 7-drop kid. He's going to restand his Okiku with Kinemon's effect. And I have to think whether I want to give up my hand to protect this kid. It's really late stage in the game. This is really close, though, because, you know, just the Kinemon. So I am going to get rid of the X-Drake and the Paradise Waterfall to counter and restand with 7-drop kid. I mean, I could have kept the X-Drake in hand for this turn, but I think in my head, I'm like, okay, I really want to go for game. He's going to knock out my Okiku here. I don't think that's really, you know, oh, actually, he does have blockers in hand that he's about to play, so that's why he goes for the Okiku play. Or the potential blockers he wants to play. So he rests the Bonnie, and he did end up fixing the other rested Bonnie, so that's good. And then he's just going to search out an 8-drop kid, it looks like. I think that was his only target that he could have gotten. He's going to bottom deck the rest of those Wano cards. And he has 1 Dawn left to play with, so it looks like this is just going to be game, because, you know, I do have 2 attackers on board. I have the double swing from my leader. He doesn't have a lot of cards in his hand, so it's going to be kind of difficult for him to counter out of it. Downright impossible, actually, I think. And then he's just going to fix the rested Bonnie. So in these matchups, again, like, you just really you do want board control for sure, but like you want to think about whether it's worth it to take cards out of your opponent's hand, especially, you know, if you know they're running like things like X-Drake that are just gonna KO your card anyway. Again, do not attach Dawn prematurely like this, like what I'm doing, especially against like red, right? Because they have like Jet Pistol, they have Red Hawk that they can trigger to lower your things by 10,000. I'm just gonna swing 7k into the X-Drake, and then he's gonna counter out with 2 cards, his Yamato and Izo. Swing for, that looks like 8k, and then I swing for 9k leader. He doesn't have the counter, and that's gonna be the game. So yeah, we're just kind of talking about this game. So in general, you know, when you're going green versus green, you want to just maximize the value you get out of your cards. Have board presence, but, you know, don't commit like entire hands to protecting, you know, your board and everything like that, because that's really what ended up, what lost him the game here in the end, was just because, you know, he got rid of so many cards out of his hand instead of just letting things go on board. But yeah, let me know what you guys thought about this game. I thought it was a pretty interesting display of both decks. As always, guys, thank you guys for watching our videos and getting us to 300 subs. Currently, we're trying to get more cards together to give you guys more gameplay videos and a more diverse spread. I'm already working on like a king deck list that we can play, an Uta deck list that we're gonna see next time we test. And there's gonna be more gameplay videos and more guide videos. I'm working on a full meta breakdown for Treasure Cup coming up, just to kind of summarize everything you might see, all the strengths and weaknesses of each deck. So if you guys are interested in that, make sure to stay tuned. And yeah, just thank you guys for everything, and I'll see you guys on the next one.